I arrived at the Grand Meridian Hotel for my sister Madison's engagement party after a red-eye flight from closing a business deal. Wearing jeans and sneakers, carrying a simple backpack, I approached the main entrance. Security guard Jessica immediately assumed I was staff or lost, rudely directing me to the service entrance despite my protests. "This party is for distinguished guests only," Jessica sneered, blocking the golden revolving doors. My heart sank as hotel guests stared and whispered. I headed toward the kitchen entrance, humiliated but determined to reach my sister's celebration. The kitchen buzzed with controlled chaos as I slipped through the service entrance. Chefs called out orders while servers balanced silver trays loaded with champagne flutes and delicate appetizers. Several staff members glanced at me with confusion, clearly wondering why someone in casual clothes was wandering through their workspace. "Excuse me, miss, are you here for the catering interview?" asked a sous chef, wiping flour from his hands on his pristine white apron. "No, I'm actually a guest," I replied, feeling my cheeks burn with embarrassment as I navigated around stainless steel prep tables. He raised his eyebrows but pointed toward the swinging doors leading to the ballroom. "Through there, but you might want to use the main entrance next time." I pushed through the doors and emerged into absolute opulence. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow prisms across marble floors, so polished they reflected like mirrors. Ice sculptures of swans graced each corner, while a live orchestra played soft classical melodies from an elevated platform. The scent of gardenias and roses filled the air from towering floral arrangements that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. "Sierra," Madison's voice carried across the room, but her tone held more panic than joy. She rushed toward me in a stunning emerald silk gown that complemented her auburn hair perfectly. "What are you doing here? I'm glad you made it, but why did you come through the kitchen?" "The security guard wouldn't let me use the front entrance," I explained, adjusting my backpack strap nervously. "She said I didn't look like I belonged at such an exclusive event." Madison's green eyes darted around the room, clearly mortified. "Oh, goodness. Well, you're here now. Come meet Brandon's family." She led me across the ballroom toward a cluster of impeccably dressed people gathered near the champagne fountain. The men wore perfectly tailored tuxedos, while the women sparkled in designer gowns and jewelry that caught the light with every movement. "Everyone, this is my sister, Sierra," Madison announced with forced brightness. "Sierra, meet the Reynolds family." Brandon stepped forward first, tall and lean with perfectly styled blonde hair and a smile that seemed practiced. "Sierra, wonderful to finally meet you. Madison talks about you constantly." His father, Robert, commanded immediate attention with his imposing 6-foot frame and silver hair swept back with precision. His handshake felt like a test of strength. "Robert Reynolds, Senior Vice President of Pinnacle Hotel Management. Madison mentioned you work in, what was it again? Technology consulting," I replied vaguely, not wanting to elaborate in this hostile environment. Patricia Reynolds glided forward like a swan, her platinum blonde hair arranged in an elaborate updo secured with diamond pins. Her navy blue gown probably cost more than most cars. "How lovely, dear. Technology is so important these days, though I imagine it must be challenging to keep up with all the changes." Their son Tyler appeared to be in his late 20s, with Brandon's blonde hair but his father's intimidating build. "Mom, Sierra probably works with computers or something. Not everyone can handle the complexities of luxury hospitality management like we do." Ashley, the youngest Reynolds at perhaps 25, seemed softer than her relatives but equally polished in a rose gold dress that highlighted her light brown hair. She offered a genuine smile. "It's nice to meet you, Sierra. Your sister is absolutely radiant tonight." That's when Robert delivered his first cutting blow. "Madison, you really must tell us more about your family background. It's fascinating how different sisters can have such varying perspectives on presentation and success." The words hit like ice water. Patricia nodded enthusiastically, her diamond earrings catching the light. "Oh yes, it's remarkable. Some families just have such diverse approaches to life, don't they? It makes one wonder about influences and priorities during the formative years." I felt my stomach drop as I realized what was happening. These people were dissecting my worth based purely on my appearance and their assumptions about my financial situation. Madison's face flushed crimson. "The Reynolds family understands the importance of maintaining certain standards," she said, shooting me an apologetic but pointed look. "They've been so patient with, well, You know how our family has always been about dressing appropriately for different occasions. Brandon wrapped his arm around Madison possessively. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. We all have relatives who need a little guidance about proper presentation. The conversation continued around me as if I were invisible, with the Reynolds family making increasingly pointed observations about family breeding and natural instincts for social situations. Other party guests began stealing glances in my direction, their whispered conversations creating a buzz that made my skin crawl. Tyler raised his champagne glass in a mock toast. Here's to broadening horizons and helping everyone understand what real elegance looks like. The climactic twist hit me like a physical blow as I realized this wasn't just casual snobbery. This wealthy family was systematically humiliating me while my own sister stood by and participated. They were treating me like a charity case who needed their guidance and pity, never imagining that I might have my own definition of success. As the orchestra began a new piece, I excused myself to get some air, my heart pounding with a mixture of hurt and growing anger. The worst part wasn't their cruelty. It was watching Madison nod along as they discussed ways to help me improve my life situation. I retreated to a quieter corner of the ballroom, nursing a glass of sparkling water while trying to process the brutal reception. Around me, conversations flowed about stock portfolios, vacation homes in the Hamptons, and charity galas where admission started at $5,000 per plate. A group of women nearby discussed their latest spa retreats in Switzerland while comparing the merits of different personal shoppers. Their casual mention of spending amounts that could feed families for months made my jaw clench. Sierra? A gentle voice interrupted my brooding. Ashley Reynolds approached with 2 champagne flutes, offering one with an apologetic smile. You look like you could use this. My family can be intense when they first meet people. That's one way to put it, I replied, accepting the drink gratefully. Don't take it personally. They judge everyone initially. Dad runs background checks on most people we bring to family events. She laughed nervously. It's embarrassing, honestly. They think success only comes in one package. Before I could respond, Robert's booming voice carried across our section of the ballroom. He stood at the center of a circle of admiring business associates, gesticulating with his Scotch glass. Gentlemen, let me tell you about the deal that's going to revolutionize our company's position in the luxury market, he announced proudly. Pinnacle Hotel Management just secured the most lucrative contract in our 30-year history. My ears perked up despite my emotional turmoil. Tyler joined his father's audience, puffing out his chest with inherited pride. We're now managing operations for a boutique hotel chain owned by some tech entrepreneur who apparently struck it rich during the digital boom, Robert continued. Cascade Luxury Hotels. You've probably heard of them. Stunning properties, but the owner clearly has more money than sense about hospitality management. My blood turned to ice. Cascade Luxury Hotels. My company. My life's work. They were talking about me without having any idea who I was. The beautiful thing, Tyler added with a smirk, is that this owner seems to be some reclusive type who doesn't get involved in day-to-day operations. Perfect for us, because we can run things our way without interference from amateur input. Patricia glided over to join the conversation, her jewelry sparkling as she moved. Oh, are you discussing that marvelous new account? I heard the owner is some young woman who inherited family money and decided to play businesswoman. How precious. Exactly, Robert confirmed, taking a long sip of his drink. These tech money people have no understanding of traditional elegance and service standards. They think throwing money around makes them sophisticated, but they lack the breeding and experience that comes from generations of hospitality excellence. I gripped my glass so tightly I worried it might shatter. These people were managing my hotels while simultaneously mocking my character and capabilities. The irony would have been laughable if it weren't so infuriating. Brandon approached the group, sliding his arm around Madison's waist. Dad, maybe we shouldn't discuss business details so openly. You never know who might be listening. Nonsense, Robert dismissed with a wave. We're among friends here. And besides, it's not like anyone in this crowd would know anything about hotel management contracts. The climactic twist hit me like a lightning bolt as Tyler leaned in conspiratorially. The best part is how easy it's been to maximize our profit margins on their properties. The owner signs off on everything remotely, never questions our invoicing methods, and apparently trusts us completely to handle vendor relationships. Creative accounting is an art form, Patricia laughed, clearly delighted with her family's business acumen. As long as the properties appear successful on paper, everyone stays happy. My mind raced as their words sank in. Were they admitting to financial manipulation? Inflated invoices? My company's accounting department had mentioned some irregularities in contractor billing, but Id trusted Pinnacle's reputation and assumed it was normal industry variance. Ashley shifted uncomfortably beside me, clearly recognizing the inappropriate nature of her family's conversation. "Maybe we should change the subject," she suggested quietly. "Why?" Tyler challenged. "It's not like we're doing anything wrong. We're simply ensuring optimal profitability for all parties involved. The owner gets impressive revenue reports, we get fair compensation for our expertise, and everyone benefits." Madison nodded along enthusiastically, obviously trying to impress her future in-laws. "It sounds like brilliant business strategy. I'm sure Sierra could learn a lot from listening to people who actually understand high-level corporate management." The insult stung, but it also revealed something crucial about my sister's mindset. She genuinely believed these people were superior to me in every way that mattered. Robert raised his glass again. "Here's to profitable partnerships and knowing how to handle clients who are smart enough to stay out of our way." As the group toasted their success at my expense, I realized I was witnessing something far worse than simple snobbery. These people had turned cruelty into an art form, and they were so confident in their superiority that they felt safe discussing questionable business practices in public. The evening had shifted from personal humiliation to potential corporate betrayal, and I was the only person in the room who understood the full scope of what was happening. I excused myself from Ashley's company, claiming I needed to find the restroom. My legs felt unsteady as I navigated through the crowd, my mind reeling from the implications of what I'd overheard. The ornate hallway leading to the powder room was mercifully quiet, decorated with oil paintings of American landscapes and antique furniture that belonged in museums. As I approached the ladies' lounge, voices echoed from a small alcove near the service corridor. I recognized Robert's authoritative tone immediately, followed by Tyler's eager responses. They were having a private conversation away from the party guests. "The quarterly reports look fantastic," Robert was saying. "Revenue up 30% across all Cascade properties, and our management fees have increased accordingly." "Dad, are you sure Sierra can't hear us?" Tyler's voice carried a note of nervousness. "Who's Sierra?" Robert asked dismissively. "Madison's sister, the one who looks like she shops at thrift stores." Robert laughed harshly. "Son, that girl couldn't understand corporate finance if we drew her diagrams. Besides, she's probably back there feeling grateful that important people are willing to talk to her at all." I pressed myself against the wall, hidden by a large marble pillar, as their conversation continued. "I want to go over those contractor invoices one more time before the next quarterly review," Robert said. "Maintenance and renovation costs have been substantial." "Everything's documented perfectly," Tyler assured him. "Cornerstone construction, elite hospitality design, premium service solutions, all legitimate companies providing legitimate services. Legitimate companies that happen to be owned by our cousins and college friends," Robert replied with evident satisfaction. "The beauty of shell corporations is that they look completely proper on paper. The Cascade owner gets beautiful hotels with impressive maintenance records. We get our standard management fees, and our associates get extremely well, compensated for their specialized services." My heart hammered against my ribs. They weren't just being condescending, they were actively defrauding my company through fake contractors and inflated bills. "How much have we netted so far?" Tyler inquired. "Between the management fee percentage increases and the contractor arrangements, approximately $2.7 million over the past 8 months, Robert stated, matter-of-factly. "And the beautiful thing is that the owner is so hands-off, she'll never know the difference." "What about Brandon? How much does he know about our methods?" Robert's tone grew cold. "Your brother knows exactly what he needs to know. His job is to keep that owner distracted and confident in our abilities. The engagement to Madison is actually perfect timing. It gives him credibility and social connections, while maintaining his access to any inside information about Cascade's operations." The words hit me like physical blows. Brandon wasn't just marrying my sister for love. He was using the relationship to facilitate their theft from my company. "I still think we should be more careful," Tyler worried. "What if someone starts asking questions? Who's going to ask questions?" "The owners, a 20 Something tech girl who probably thinks hotel management involves nothing more complicated than booking reservations online. As long as the revenue reports look good and the properties maintain their ratings, she'll continue signing whatever we put in front of her. I listened in, growing horror as they discussed specific fraudulent transactions, fake employee payrolls, and kickback arrangements with vendors. They had turned my trust into a criminal enterprise, and they were so confident in their superiority that they felt safe celebrating their success openly. The climactic twist came when I heard Brandon's voice joining the conversation. "Dad, Tyler, there you are. Madison's looking for me, but I wanted to update you on the timeline." "Timeline for what?" Robert asked. "The final extraction. I've convinced Madison that we should honeymoon in the Cayman Islands for 3 weeks. That gives us the perfect window to transfer the remaining accessible funds and dissolve the shell companies before anyone notices the patterns." "Brilliant," Tyler praised. "And Madison doesn't suspect anything?" "Madison thinks I'm a romantic who wants to spoil her with an exotic honeymoon. She has no idea that her sister's company is funding our retirement fund. The ironic thing is, Sierra could probably afford to give us this money as a wedding gift if she knew how much she was actually worth." They laughed at their own cleverness while I stood frozen in the hallway, my entire world crashing down around me. My sister's fiancé wasn't just stealing from my company. He was planning to use their marriage as cover for a massive theft that would happen during their honeymoon. When I finally found the strength to move, I returned to the ballroom on unsteady legs. The party continued around me in a blur of music, laughter, and clinking glasses, but all I could hear was the echo of their conspiracy. Madison approached me with concern. "Sierra, you look pale. Are you feeling all right?" "I'm fine," I managed, though nothing could have been further from the truth. "Good, because Brandon's family wants to talk to you about some opportunities that might help improve your situation. They're being so generous, offering to help you find appropriate work through their connections." The final knife twisted in my heart as I realized my sister genuinely believed she was helping me by facilitating my own humiliation. She had no idea that the generous people she admired were criminals who saw both of us as marks in an elaborate con game. As I watched Brandon charm other party guests while his family planned their heist, I knew I had reached the breaking point. The time for passive observation was over. I slipped away to a secluded corner of the hotel's terrace, where fairy lights twinkled among potted trees and the city skyline provided a glittering backdrop. The cool night air helped clear my head as I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers. Jennifer Martinez, my business partner and chief financial officer, answered on the second ring despite the late hour. "Sierra? How's Madison's party? You sound upset." "Jennifer, I need you to pull the Pinnacle Hotel management files immediately. Focus on contractor payments, maintenance invoices, and any unusual expense patterns from the past year. At 11 at night? Sierra, what's going on?" I quickly summarized what Eid overheard, my voice shaking with fury and disbelief. Jennifer listened in stunned silence before responding with the sharp intelligence that made her invaluable to our company. I knew something felt wrong about those quarterly reports. The revenue increases looked impressive, but the expense ratios didn't match industry standards. I flagged several invoices for review but got distracted by the Portland property acquisition. What kind of irregularities? Maintenance contracts for services that couldn't be verified, consulting fees for companies with no online presence, and employee payroll for positions that don't exist on our organizational charts. I estimated roughly $2 to $3 million in questionable expenses. My worst fears were confirmed. "Jennifer, I need you to document everything tonight. Reference contractor information, verify business licenses, and prepare a comprehensive fraud report. We're dealing with systematic embezzlement. Consider it done." "But Sierra, if this is true, we need to involve law enforcement. This level of financial manipulation requires federal investigation." "I know, but first, I need to gather more evidence. They think I'm some naive tech girl who doesn't understand business. I'm going to use their arrogance against them." After ending the call, I returned to the party with renewed purpose. The ballroom seemed different now. Instead of a celebration, I saw a stage where criminals performed for an unsuspecting audience. I approached the Reynolds family with a carefully crafted expression of innocent curiosity. They were holding court near the ice sculptures, regaling other guests with stories of their business acumen. "Excuse me," I interrupted politely. "I couldn't help overhearing your conversation about hotel management. It sounds fascinating." I've always wondered how successful companies maintain such impressive profit margins. Robert's chest swelled with pride at the opportunity to educate someone he considered intellectually inferior. Well, my dear, it's all about understanding the nuances of operational efficiency and vendor relationship management. Could you explain how that works? I asked, activating my phone's recording app discreetly. I mean, for someone like me who doesn't understand business complexities. Tyler jumped into the explanation with enthusiasm. Take maintenance contracts, for example. Most amateur property owners accept whatever bids they receive from local contractors. But experienced management companies like ours have relationships with specialized service providers who understand luxury hospitality requirements. How do you find these specialized contractors? I prompted innocently. Networking is everything in our industry, Patricia interjected. We work exclusively with companies that have proven track records and personal recommendations from trusted associates. Robert nodded sagely. The key is avoiding the bidding wars that naive owners think save money. Quality service providers charge premium rates because they deliver premium results. A sophisticated owner understands that cutting corners on contractor fees ultimately damages property values and guest satisfaction. So you recommend contractors who charge higher rates because they're better quality? I asked, keeping my voice filled with admiration for their wisdom. Exactly, Tyler confirmed. Companies like Cornerstone Construction and Elite Hospitality Design charge 30 to 40% more than average contractors, but their work quality justifies every dollar. Property owners who question these relationships usually learn to appreciate them once they see the results. I now had them on record admitting to preferential contractor relationships and premium pricing structures. That makes so much sense. I imagine your clients really appreciate having experts handle these complicated decisions. Most of them do, Robert agreed. Though we occasionally work with owners who think they know better than industry professionals. Those relationships rarely last long. Brandon appeared at my elbow, apparently having overheard enough of the conversation to make him nervous. Dad, maybe we should let Sierra enjoy the party instead of boring her with business talk. Nonsense, I protested with false enthusiasm. This is the most educational conversation I've had in months. I had no idea hotel management involved such sophisticated strategies. The climactic twist came when Patricia, emboldened by what she perceived as my genuine admiration, decided to share more details about their success methods. The secret, dear, is understanding that property owners typically focus on revenue while overlooking expense optimization opportunities. A skilled management company can identify cost savings and efficiency improvements that significantly impact profitability. What kind of cost savings? I pressed. Well, for instance, many properties carry unnecessary insurance policies or maintain service contracts for equipment that could be handled more economically through alternative arrangements, Tyler explained. Experienced managers know how to streamline these expenses while maintaining operational standards. I was gathering evidence of their systematic approach to financial manipulation, but I needed more specific admissions. It sounds like you save your clients money while making them more profitable. That seems almost too good to be true. That's the difference between professional management and amateur hour, Robert declared. Companies like ours have the expertise to maximize revenue streams while minimizing operational waste. Our clients see profit increases of 20 to 30% on average. How do you achieve such impressive results? I asked, genuinely curious about their justifications for theft. Trade secrets, Tyler winked. Let's just say we know how to make every dollar work harder than most people think possible. As they continued explaining their sophisticated business strategies, I realized they had become so confident in their superiority that they were essentially confessing to fraud while believing they were impressing me with their intelligence. The evening had shifted from personal humiliation to active evidence gathering, and I was beginning to formulate a plan that would give them exactly the kind of education they thought I needed. I could no longer stomach watching my sister participate in her own betrayal while criminals celebrated their theft of my life's work. The weight of their deception and Madison's willing participation in my humiliation had reached an unbearable crescendo. The orchestra had just finished a waltz when I made my decision. I walked to the center of the ballroom and caught the attention of David Chen, the hotel's general manager, who was supervising the evening service with his typical quiet efficiency. David, I called out, my voice carrying across the music and conversation. Could I speak with you for a moment? He approached immediately, probably assuming I was a party guest with a complaint or request. Of course, miss. How can I assist you this evening? I need you to gather the Pinnacle Hotel management representatives for a brief discussion. I believe they're the Reynolds family, standing near the champagne fountain. David's professional demeanor never wavered, but I caught a flicker of recognition in his eyes. Certainly. And may I ask who's making this request? I took a deep breath, knowing that my next words would change everything. Please tell them that Sierra Rivera, founder and CEO of Cascade Luxury Hotels, would like to have a word. The effect was instantaneous and electric. David's eyes widened with shock and respect as he realized who had been wandering through his hotel in jeans and sneakers. Nearby guests who overheard my introduction turned to stare, their expressions shifting from confusion to amazement. Miss Rivera, David said, his voice carrying across the suddenly quiet ballroom. It's an absolute honor to have you here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, he announced to the crowd, please welcome Sierra Rivera, the owner of our hotel and founder of Cascade Luxury Hotels. The silence that followed was deafening. Crystal glasses stopped clinking. Conversations ceased mid-sentence, and even the orchestra paused between songs. Every eye in the ballroom focused on me as the reality of the situation began to dawn on the assembled guests. Robert Reynolds looked like he'd been struck by lightning. His face drained of all color as he connected the dots between the naive tech girl he'd been mocking and the woman who controlled his company's most lucrative contract. Patricia's champagne glass slipped from her nerveless fingers, shattering against the marble floor with a sound that seemed to echo through the stunned silence. Tyler's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air, while Ashley's eyes filled with horror as she realized the full scope of her family's public humiliation. Madison stood frozen beside Brandon, her face a mask of shock and dawning comprehension. You're the owner of Cascade Hotels? Madison whispered, her voice barely audible. I am, I confirmed, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. The same company that Pinnacle Hotel Management has been discussing so freely this evening. The same owner they've been describing as an amateur who doesn't understand hospitality management. Robert attempted to regain his composure, but his hands shook visibly as he set down his scotch glass. Miss Rivera, we had no idea. If we said anything that seemed inappropriate, it was certainly taken out of context. The climactic twist came when I pulled out my phone and activated the recording I'd made earlier. Would you like to hear the context, Robert? Because I have your exact words about creative accounting, shell corporations, and maximizing profit margins through vendor relationships with your family members. The blood drained from Tyler's face as he realized the implications. Sierra, you don't understand. We were just what? Stealing from my company while mocking my intelligence? Using my sister's engagement as cover for planning to drain my accounts during your brother's honeymoon? Gasps echoed throughout the ballroom as guests absorbed the magnitude of what was being revealed. Several people began backing away from the Reynolds family, as if their criminality might be contagious. The secondary twist hit when I continued my revelation. Jennifer Martinez, my chief financial officer, has been working all evening to document the $2.7 million you've stolen through fake contractors and inflated invoices. Companies owned by your relatives and college friends, charging premium rates for services that were never performed. Brandon made a desperate attempt to salvage the situation. Sierra, there's been some kind of misunderstanding. I would never what, Brandon? Never discuss using your marriage to Madison as a distraction while you plan the final extraction of funds? Never coordinate with your family to defraud my company? Because I heard every word of your conversation in the hallway. Madison's face crumpled as the full betrayal became clear. You mean you've been stealing from my sister? From Sierra's company? Madison, sweetheart, you have to understand, Brandon pleaded, reaching for her hands. This isn't how it sounds. But Madison stepped back, her emerald gown swirling around her as she distanced herself from the man she'd planned to marry. You've been using me. Using our relationship to steal from my sister while your family humiliated her right in front of me. The final twist came when David cleared his throat respectfully. Miss Rivera, I should mention that our hotel staff has been aware of your identity all evening. We've been appalled by the treatment you've received, and several team members documented the inappropriate behavior they witnessed. Patricia attempted one last desperate social maneuver. Sierra, dear, I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding. Perhaps we could discuss this privately and resolve any confusion about our business relationship. There's no confusion, Patricia. There's evidence of systematic fraud, conspiracy, and theft. The only question now is whether you'll face the consequences with dignity or continue embarrassing yourselves in front of these witnesses. As the magnitude of their exposure sank in, the Reynolds family began to fracture. Tyler turned on his father. Brandon blamed everyone except himself, and Patricia frantically tried to distance herself from their business practices. The evening had transformed from my humiliation into their complete exposure, and every guest in that ballroom now understood exactly who had been judging whom. The ballroom buzzed with shocked whispers as the gravity of the situation settled over the assembled guests. I pulled out my phone again and called Jennifer, who had been working tirelessly to compile evidence while I gathered confessions. Jennifer, it's time. Are the documents ready? Everything's prepared, Sierra. I've also contacted Agent Sarah Thompson from the FBI's White-Collar Crime Division. She's been investigating similar hospitality industry fraud cases and is extremely interested in what we've uncovered. I put the call on speaker so the ballroom could hear. Agent Thompson, this is Sierra Rivera. I'm currently at the Grand Meridian Hotel with the Reynolds family from Pinnacle Hotel Management. I have recorded confessions and documented evidence of systematic fraud against my company. Agent Thompson's voice was crisp and professional. Miss Rivera, we've been tracking several shell corporations that match the pattern you've described. We can have agents at your location within 20 minutes. The climactic twist hit the Reynolds family like a sledgehammer as they realized the full scope of their legal jeopardy. Robert's face turned ashen as he understood that federal investigators had been building a case against their operation. This is ridiculous, Tyler protested desperately. We haven't done anything that isn't standard practice in the hospitality industry. Jennifer's voice came through the phone speaker with devastating clarity. Tyler, I have documentation showing that Cornerstone Construction, Elite Hospitality Design, and Premium Service Solutions are all registered to addresses that don't exist. The business licenses are fraudulent, and the bank accounts trace back to shell corporations owned by Reynolds family members. Patricia attempted to throw her husband under the bus. I had nothing to do with any business decisions. Robert handles all the contracts and financial arrangements. Actually, Patricia, I interjected, I have recordings of you discussing expense optimization strategies and creative accounting methods. You're complicit in every aspect of this conspiracy. The secondary twist came when Ashley suddenly stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. I can't do this anymore. I tried to warn someone months ago, but Dad threatened to disown me and ruin my career if I caused problems for the family business. Ashley, shut up, Robert commanded harshly, but the damage was done. No, Dad, I'm tired of pretending this is legitimate. I have copies of invoices, email correspondence, and bank records that prove everything Sierra is saying. I've been documenting the fraud because I knew it would eventually explode. Ashley's revelation provided the final piece of evidence needed to seal the case against her family. She pulled out her phone and showed screenshots of text messages between family members, discussing fake invoices and profit-sharing arrangements. I saved everything because I knew someone would eventually figure out what you were doing. I just never imagined it would happen like this. Brandon made one last desperate attempt to save himself. This is all a misunderstanding blown out of proportion. Sierra, surely we can work out some kind of arrangement that benefits everyone. You mean like the arrangement where you marry my sister as cover for stealing my life savings? I asked coldly. Or the arrangement where you coordinate with your family to defraud my company while publicly humiliating me? Madison spoke for the first time since the revelations began, her voice shaking with hurt and anger. Brandon, you made me participate in attacking my own sister while you were stealing from her. You turned me against Sierra while planning to use our marriage for theft. Madison, please. You have to understand the pressure I was under from my family, Brandon pleaded. I understand perfectly, she replied, sliding the engagement ring off her finger and placing it on a nearby table. I understand that I almost married someone who saw me as a tool for committing crimes against my sister. The climactic finale arrived when Agent Thompson walked into the ballroom with 3 other federal agents, their presence immediately commanding attention from every guest present. Robert Reynolds, Tyler Reynolds, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, money laundering, and racketeering, Agent Thompson announced, producing handcuffs with practiced efficiency. This is outrageous, Robert protested as the handcuffs clicked around his wrists. We demand legal representation. You'll have that opportunity. Agent Thompson replied calmly. Patricia Reynolds, you're also under arrest as a co-conspirator in the financial crimes committed against Cascade Luxury Hotels. As the three family members were led away in handcuffs, party guests watched in stunned silence. The elegant engagement party had transformed into a perp walk worthy of a crime drama. Brandon stood alone and abandoned, no longer the confident heir to a successful business empire, but rather the son of federal criminals facing decades in prison. What about Brandon? Madison asked, her voice hollow with betrayal. Agent Thompson consulted her notes. Brandon Reynolds is a person of interest in our investigation. His cooperation with the ongoing inquiry will determine the charges he faces. Ashley approached Agent Thompson with visible relief. I want to provide full cooperation with your investigation. I have extensive documentation of my family's criminal activities. The evening that began with my humiliation had ended with justice being served in the most dramatic fashion possible. The people who thought they were superior in every way had been exposed as thieves and fraudsters, their arrogance becoming the instrument of their downfall. The ballroom gradually emptied as guests departed, many stopping to apologize for their earlier assumptions and to praise my grace under pressure. The hotel staff, led by David, approached with warm smiles and genuine respect. Miss Rivera, I want you to know that every employee here tonight was disgusted by the way you were treated, David said earnestly. Your ownership of our hotel chain has always been a source of pride for our staff. You've created jobs, maintained high standards, and treated everyone with fairness and respect. Jessica, the security guard who had turned me away from the main entrance, appeared with tears in her eyes and a face red with embarrassment. Miss Rivera, I am so incredibly sorry. I made assumptions based on your appearance and completely failed at my job. I understand if you want to terminate my employment. I looked at Jessica, remembering my own feelings of humiliation just hours earlier. Jessica, what did you learn from tonight? That appearances mean nothing about a person's worth or success. That treating people with dignity should never depend on their clothes or perceived social status. That I failed to represent the values this hotel stands for. Those are important lessons. Use them to become better at your job and better as a person. Consider this your opportunity to grow, not your termination notice. Relief flooded Jessica's face as she realized she was being given a second chance rather than punishment. Thank you, Miss Rivera. I promise I'll never make this mistake again. Madison approached slowly, her face streaked with tears and her emerald gown wrinkled from the evening's emotional turmoil. Sierra, I don't even know how to begin apologizing for what I did tonight. Start by telling me why, I said gently, though my heart still ached from her betrayal. I was ashamed, she admitted, her voice breaking. Ashamed of our background, our family's financial struggles when we were growing up, the way we never seemed to fit in with successful people. When I met Brandon's family, they represented everything I thought I wanted. Prestige, wealth, social acceptance. So you threw me under the bus to gain their approval? Madison nodded miserably. I convinced myself that they were trying to help you, that their criticism came from a place of caring. I wanted their acceptance so desperately that I ignored how cruel they were being. I participated in your humiliation because I thought it would prove I belonged in their world. Madison, you already belonged in any world you chose to enter. You're intelligent, beautiful, talented, and successful in your own right. You didn't need their validation or approval. I know that now, she whispered. But I was so focused on what I thought success looked like that I lost sight of what actually matters. I betrayed my sister for people who turned out to be criminals. The conversation with Madison revealed the core lesson that had been building throughout this entire ordeal. Success isn't about appearances, social status, or impressing other people. True success comes from integrity, hard work, treating others with dignity, and staying true to your values regardless of external pressure. Madison, I forgive you, but we need to establish some boundaries going forward. I need to know that you see me as your sister, not as someone whose worth depends on other people's approval. I see you clearly now, she replied, embracing me tightly. I see someone who built a successful company through talent and determination. Someone who maintained her dignity even when being publicly humiliated. Someone who showed mercy to people who didn't deserve it. Ashley approached us hesitantly, still carrying the weight of her family's disgrace. Sierra, I know I don't have the right to ask, but could I speak with you privately? We moved to a quiet corner of the ballroom where Ashley could speak without being overheard. I want you to know that I tried to stop this months ago. I contacted the Better Business Bureau and even considered calling the FBI, but my father discovered my concerns and threatened to destroy my career and cut me off from the family. Why didn't you try again? Cowardice, she admitted honestly. I was afraid of being alone, of losing my family even though I knew they were wrong. I chose comfort over doing the right thing, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. Ashley, you ultimately did the right thing tonight. You provided evidence that will help prosecute your family's crimes and protect other potential victims. That took courage. What happens now? I don't have a job anymore, and my family will probably never speak to me again. I considered her situation carefully. Ashley had been complicit in her family's crimes through silence, but she had also been their victim in many ways. She deserved a chance at redemption. I have a proposition for you. My company needs someone with hospitality industry knowledge who understands the importance of ethical business practices. Would you be interested in starting over with Cascade Luxury Hotels? Ashley's eyes filled with tears of gratitude and relief. You would trust me after what my family did? I believe people can change and grow from their mistakes. Your family chose greed and arrogance. You're choosing honesty and accountability. That makes all the difference. As the evening wound down, I reflected on the profound lessons that had emerged from this painful experience. I had learned that success without integrity is meaningless, that family bonds must be based on mutual respect rather than blind loyalty, and that treating people with dignity shouldn't depend on their perceived social status or wealth. The people who mocked my appearance and questioned my worth had revealed themselves to be fraudsters and criminals. Their expensive clothes, prestigious connections, and social pretensions had masked corruption and cruelty. Meanwhile, hotel staff members who earned modest wages had shown more class and character than millionaire executives. I decided to use this experience to establish mentorship programs for young women entering the business world. Too many people face discrimination based on their appearance, background, or perceived social status. I wanted to create opportunities for talented individuals who might be overlooked by those who judge success by superficial standards. 6 months later, Robert, Tyler, and Patricia Reynolds were sentenced to federal prison terms ranging from 8 to 15 years. Brandon received a reduced sentence in exchange for full cooperation with ongoing investigations into hospitality industry fraud. Ashley became one of my most trusted employees, her insider knowledge helping us identify and prevent similar schemes across the industry. Madison and I rebuilt our relationship on a foundation of honesty and mutual respect. She learned to value authenticity over social acceptance, while I learned to be more open about my achievements to prevent future misunderstandings. The experience taught me that true wealth comes from character, relationships, and the positive impact you have on others' lives. Success isn't about impressing people or gaining their approval. It's about staying true to your values while working to make the world a little better than you found it. Sometimes the people who try to make you feel small are actually revealing the limitations of their own character. Don't let their judgments diminish your worth or discourage your dreams. Stay focused on your goals, treat everyone with dignity regardless of their status, and remember that real success is measured not by what you accumulate, but by who you become in the process of achieving it. The most powerful response to those who underestimate you isn't anger or revenge. It's living your life with integrity while achieving the goals they said were impossible. Let your success speak for itself, and always remember to lift others up as you climb. I hope this story resonated with you and reminded you that everyone deserves to be treated with respect, regardless of their appearance or perceived social status. Have you ever experienced a situation where someone made assumptions about you based on your looks or background? How did you handle it, and what would you do differently now? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If this story inspired you or taught you something valuable, please give it a like to help others find it. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about overcoming adversity and finding strength in difficult situations. And if you think someone in your life could benefit from hearing this message about the importance of treating everyone with dignity, please share this story with them. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my experience, and I hope it encourages you to stay true to your values no matter what challenges you face. Remember, your worth isn't determined by other people's opinions. It's determined by your character, your actions, and the positive impact you have on the world around you. Hello, I'm delighted to assist you with our voice services. Choose a voice that resonates with you, and let's begin our creative audio journey together.